I'm Joanne. Sitting here in this quiet private room, signing papers that will make me one of the wealthiest women in the state, I can't help but think back to the chaos that unfolded just moments ago in the lobby of the country club's annual charity gala. My husband, Ethan, lay on the marble floor like a beached fish, gasping for air. His face had gone through every color in the spectrum: red, white, and an ugly shade of green. Beside him was Bianca, draped in a silk dress that probably cost more than my car, her face a mask of shock and horror. It all started when I walked into the gala. I hadn't wanted to come. Ethan insisted, something about maintaining appearances for his upcoming promotion at the law firm. I should have known something was off when he spent half an hour primping in front of the mirror. As I scanned the room, I saw her before she saw me. Bianca, with her long, flowing red hair and a diamond on her finger that could blind you. She was standing by the bar, her hand possessively on Ethan's arm. "Darling," Ethan's voice was strained when he noticed me approaching. "I didn't think you'd make it. You said you were tired." "I changed my mind," I said simply, watching as Bianca's hand quickly dropped from his arm. "Hello, Bianca," I greeted her. "Joanne," she kissed me with a practiced insincerity. "Don't you look comfortable? Is that dress from last season? How practical of you." I glanced down at my simple black dress. It was 4 years old, but it fit me like a glove and didn't scream for attention like her outfit. "That's quite a ring," I said, nodding at the huge diamond on her finger. "New," she preened, holding her hand up to catch the light. "Isn't it gorgeous? Ryan just surprised me with it. 5 carats, clarity vs1. He says I deserve the best." "How nice for Ryan's credit card," I murmured. Ethan coughed uncomfortably. "Should we find our table?" But Bianca wasn't done. Her eyes fell on my wedding ring, a simple gold band with a modest quarter-carat diamond. The same ring Ethan had proposed with 12 years ago when we were both struggling young professionals, living on takeout and dreams. "Oh, Joanne," she said with false sympathy. "That's so sweet that you still wear your original ring. Ethan must have been such a struggling guy when he proposed." She laughed, the sound like nails on a chalkboard. "That's all he could afford? How quaint. I always tell Ryan, you can tell a man's worth by the jewelry he gives. Some men just have deeper pockets than others, I suppose." Ethan's face flushed. "Bianca, no. It's fine," I said calmly. "She's right. This is all Ethan could afford at the time." "And you never upgrade it?" Bianca's voice dripped with pity. "How loyal. Though I suppose when you're used to cubic zirconia, even a small diamond seems special." "It's not cubic zirconia," I said mildly. "Of course not, dear," she patted my arm condescendingly. "I'm sure it's very precious to you." Just then, a throat cleared behind us. Mr. Thompson, a high-powered estate attorney, stood there in his perfectly tailored suit. "Mrs. Carter? I apologize for interrupting your evening, but we've been trying to reach you all week." Ethan straightened, suddenly interested. "Is everything all right?" Mr. Thompson glanced at him dismissively before focusing on me. "It's regarding your grandfather Henry's estate. There are some urgent matters that need your attention." "Grandfather's estate?" I kept my voice level. I thought everything was handled. The property transfers were straightforward, but there's the matter of the Australian holdings. We need your signature on some documents regarding the gold mines." Bianca laughed again. "Mines? What? Did Gramps leave you a coal pit?" Mr. Thompson turned his cold gaze on her. "Gold mines, actually. 4 of them. The Sunset Gold Mine alone produces approximately 300,000 ounces of gold annually." The silence that followed was deafening. I could hear the distant sound of the band playing in the ballroom, the clink of glasses from the bar, and Ethan's strangled breathing. "I'm sorry," Bianca's voice had gone up an octave. Did you say gold mines? Among other things, Mr. Thompson continued, clearly enjoying himself. He'd never liked Ethan, not since the pre-nup negotiations years ago. Your grandfather, Henry Carter, passed away 8 months ago, leaving his entire estate to his only granddaughter. The full inheritance includes the mining operations, significant real estate holdings in 6 countries, an art collection valued at approximately $22 million, and liquid assets totaling. He paused for effect, and I bit back a smile. $90 million. Ethan's champagne glass hit the marble floor and shattered. He swayed on his feet, and then his knees buckled. He hit the floor with a thud that drew stares from nearby guests. Oh my God! Bianca shrieked, torn between helping Ethan and staring at me in horror. Ethan, someone help! A waiter rushed over with water, while someone else called for the club's medical staff. I stood there calmly, watching my husband of 12 years gasping on the floor. You might want to loosen his tie, I suggested helpfully. He always did have trouble breathing when surprised. Bianca knelt beside him, her perfect dress pooling on the floor. 90 million? But you dress like your car is a Toyota. A 2016 Toyota Corolla, I confirmed. Very reliable. Excellent gas mileage. But your ring. She was practically wailing now. You said it was all he could afford. It was, I said, twisting the simple band on my finger. 12 years ago, this was all Ethan could afford. I never asked for more because I didn't marry him for his money. Funny how that works out, isn't it? Mr. Thompson cleared his throat again. Mrs. Carter, about those documents. Of course, I said. Though I should mention, Mr. Thompson, that I'll be needing your services for another matter, a divorce. I've been gathering evidence of Ethan's extracurricular activities for the past year. Ethan, who had just managed to sit up, promptly fainted again. Evidence, Bianca's voice was barely a whisper. Oh, yes, I pulled out my phone, scrolling through photos. The trip to Bali last month when he was supposedly at a legal seminar. The charges at a luxury jewelry store that certainly weren't for me. The apartment lease in the city center he thought I didn't know about. I looked at her ring meaningfully. 5 carats, vs1 clarity. Yes, I recognized it from the receipt. It was in his suit pocket. But, Bianca looked between me and Ethan's unconscious form. He said he was getting a promotion. He said he was going to leave you. He said you were boring and poor and you believed him, I finished. Tell me, Bianca. How much of Ryan's money did you spend on Ethan? Because I'm guessing that ring didn't really come from your husband. Her face went white beneath her perfect makeup. That's what I thought. I turned to Mr. Thompson. Shall we find somewhere quiet to discuss the paperwork? And perhaps you could recommend a good forensic accountant. I have a feeling Ethan's been more creative with our finances than I realized. With pleasure, Mr. Thompson said, offering me his arm. I've taken the liberty of bringing Miss Davis. You remember her? She handled the Johnson divorce. Took him for everything. As we walked away, I could hear the commotion behind us. Staff trying to revive Ethan, Bianca's increasingly hysterical voice. The whispers already starting to spread through the party like wildfire. Mrs. Carter, Mr. Thompson said quietly as we walked. Might I ask why you didn't reveal the inheritance sooner? Your grandfather passed 8 months ago. I smiled, thinking of Henry Carter, the grandfather who'd raised me after my parents died in a car accident. The man who'd built an empire from nothing but hard work and a small claim in Australia. Who taught me that real wealth wasn't about showing off. It was about knowing your worth. Henry always said that money doesn't change people. It reveals them. I said. I wanted to see who Ethan really was when he thought I had nothing to offer but myself. And now you know. Now I know. I paused at the door to the private dining room, looking back at the scene in the lobby. Ethan was sitting up now, Bianca beside him. Both looking stunned and slightly pathetic. You know the really sad part? What's that? If he just loved me, really loved me, not my potential or my connections or what I could do for him, he'd have gotten to share all of this. Henry liked him once. He thought he made me happy. I shook my head. Instead, he'll get exactly what he deserves. Half of the nothing he thinks I have, since the inheritance is protected by the pre-nup he insisted on. Mr. Thompson chuckled. He insisted on the prenup? To protect his future earnings from his gold-digging wife, I confirmed. He was so worried I'd try to take his money someday. The irony is rather delicious, don't you think? We entered the private room where Ms. Davis waited with a briefcase full of papers and a smile sharp enough to cut glass. Mrs. Carter, she said, standing. I've reviewed the prenuptial agreement. Your husband is about to have a very bad year. Just 1 year? I asked, taking a seat. Oh, no, her smile widened. But the first year is always the worst. After that, they usually accept their new reality. Shall we discuss strategy? As I signed the papers that would officially transform my grandfather's empire into my name, I thought about Bianca's words. You can tell a man's worth by the jewelry he gives. She was wrong, of course. You can tell a man's worth by how he treats you when he thinks you have nothing to give. Ethan had shown his true worth tonight, and it was far less than the quarter-carat diamond on my finger. But that ring, the one Bianca had mocked, I'd keep wearing it. Not because it was all Ethan could afford once upon a time, but because it reminded me of the girl I'd been. The one who'd believed in love over money, who thought she'd found a partner for life. That girl deserved better. And thanks to Grandfather Henry and his gold mines, she was finally going to get it. My phone buzzed with a text from my assistant. Yes, I'd hired one quietly months ago to help manage the inheritance paperwork. The jet is ready whenever you are. The Sydney lawyers are expecting you Wednesday. I smiled. Time to see these gold mines grandfather had left me. Time to step into the life Henry had built for me. The one he'd kept secret until he could be sure I was ready for it. But first, I had a divorce to file and a husband to destroy. Financially speaking, of course. Everything else, he'd already destroyed himself. Ms. Davis, I said, interrupting her explanation of asset division. What would happen if we found evidence that Ethan had been stealing from my personal accounts? She leaned forward, interested. Do you have evidence? I pulled out a folder I'd been carrying in my purse for 4 months. Bank statements, forged signatures, credit cards opened in my name. About $250,000 over the last 6 years. Ms. Davis's smile turned predatory. Mrs. Carter, I think we're going to get along splendidly. Outside the private room, I could hear the party continuing. Unaware that one of its most entertaining dramas had just played out in the lobby. Tomorrow, the gossip would spread like wildfire. Everyone would know about Ethan's mistress, his theft, his spectacular fall from grace. But tonight, I was sitting in a quiet room, signing papers that would make me one of the wealthiest women in the state, planning the systematic destruction of a man who thought I was worthless. That's all he could afford? Bianca had laughed at my ring. No, that's all he was worth. And even that had been too much. But Grandfather Henry, he'd known my true value all along. $90 million and a gold mine. Now, that's what I call an inheritance worth waiting for.